Good evening and welcome to the Boise City Design Review Committee meeting. A few things to start out with for tonight's proceedings. Everyone entering the hearing via Zoom has been automatically muted and cannot speak. As the item you're interested in comes up for discussion, you will be called upon and unmuted. You'll be promoted to panelist and will rejoin the meeting after a slight delay. There's a chat function in Zoom. This is not part of the record and should only be used if technical difficulties arise. If the chat function isn't available for you, you can email zoninginfo@cityofboise.org with any technical issues. Our procedures for public hearings begin with a presentation from the planning team. Then we'll go to the applicant and then to the representative of the Registered Neighborhood Association if present, followed by questions from the commission. After that, we proceed to public testimony, starting with those who signed up on the online sign-up sheet in advance, and then anyone else who raises their hand virtually. Anyone from the public present in person will be asked to raise their hand and approach the dais. If you're attending through the telephone, you can type in *9 to raise your hand. Each member of the public is allowed up to 3 minutes for testimony. And then finally, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal, after which the hearing will close and the commission will deliberate and render a decision. Please be patient with us while we venture through this virtual meeting format. And with that, Mr. Chairman, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Josh. At this time, I'd like to call the August 11th, 2021 Design Review Committee meeting to order. And Victoria, will you please call the roll?
Zabala.
Here.
Aguilar.
Here.
Marsh.
Here.
Rudine.
Here.
Temple.
Here.
5 present, 1 absent.
Next, I'd like to take a motion on the July 14th, 2021 minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr.
I
Ball.
would move for approval of the July 14th, 2021 hearing minutes as presented in the staff packet.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you. With that, Victoria, you please call the roll.
Zabala.
Aye.
Aguilar.
Aye.
Marsh.
Aye.
Rudine.
Aye.
Semple.
I'm abstaining as I was not present at that hearing.
Motion carries 4 in favor.
And tonight we have one item up for deferral. That item is item number 5. It's DRH 21-00238. Its location is 521 West Front Street. It's to construct a new 19-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial, 209 residential units and 5 floors of structured parking with associated site improvements in a C5 DD zone. This item was previously deferred at the July 14th, 2021 hearing. Is there anyone, member of the audience, wishing to speak to this item who cannot meet next month's date? Josh, what's the date of next month, just for clarity, please?
Mr. Chairman, that is September 8th.
September 8th. Thank you. Is there any member of the public cannot make the September 8th date that was wishing to testify to speak to this item? Seeing none in the audience. Josh, anybody online? No, thank you. That concludes our items to be considered for up for deferral tonight. At this time, I would take a motion on the deferrals.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to defer item DRH 21-00238 to the September 8th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Simple. And second, any discussion? Hearing none, Victoria, please call the roll.
Zabala.
Aye.
Aguilar.
Aye.
Marsh.
Aye.
Rudine.
Aye.
Temple.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Next, we'll move on to our items to be considered for our consent agenda tonight. The first item to be considered is item number 1. It's DRH 19-00231. Location is 4307 West Fremont Street. It's for a time extension on approval to construct 2 single-family dwellings on a substandard lot of record on a property located in R1C zone. Is the applicant present?
I believe they offered up the wrong Nate.
What was that? I'm sorry.
You unmuted the wrong Nate.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, looks like the applicant may not be present.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to testify in opposition to this item? Josh, if you're online, please raise your hand if you're wishing to. See none. Next item to be considered on the consent agenda is item number 3. It's DRH 21-00234. Location is 3111 East Barber Valley Drive. To construct a new athletic training facility campus consisting of 8 buildings totaling approximately 68,000 square feet with associated site improvements and SPOD zone. Is the applicant present tonight? Is that the record show the applicant is present? Are you in agreement with the recommended conditions of approval? Yes. Let the record show the applicant is in agreement. Are there any members of the public wishing to testify in opposition to this item? Virtually, please raise your hand. Seeing none virtually, none present. This item will be moved to the consent agenda. Next item to be considered for a consent agenda is item number 4. Location is 777 8th Street to construct a new approximately 6,580 square foot 2-story office building and education building with associated site improvements in an RODD zone. Is the applicant present tonight? Please let the record show the applicant is present. Are you in agreement with the recommended conditions of approval? Please let the record show the applicant is in agreement. Is there any member of the public wishing to testify in opposition to this item? If so, virtually, please raise your hand. Seeing none virtually or present, this item will be moved to the consent agenda. Next item to be considered for a consent agenda is item number 6, DRH 21-00279. Locations 1250 South Division Avenue. It's to modify previously approval to construct a new 4-story multifamily building with 125 residential units, structured parking, and associated site improvements in an LOD zone. Is the applicant present tonight? Yes. The record show the applicant is present. Are you in agreement with the recommended conditions of approval? Thank you. Does the record show the applicant is in agreement? Are there any members of the public wishing to testify in opposition to this item? If you're virtually, please raise your hand. Seeing none virtually, none present, this item will also be moved to the consent agenda. Final item to be heard, considered for a consent agenda will be item number 7. It's DRH 21-00283. Location is 2351 South Apple Street for the construction of a new approximately 6,700 square foot single-story commercial building with associated site improvements on a property located in an R2D zone. Is the applicant present tonight? You are virtually, please raise your hand. The applicant is online. Are you in
Yes,
agreement with the
present.
recommended conditions of approval?
Yes, we are in agreement.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to testify in opposition to this item tonight? Virtually, please raise your hand. Seeing none virtually or present, this item will be moved to the consent agenda. And that concludes our items to be considered tonight for consent. At this time, I'd be open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Mr.
I just want to confirm that number 1, is that added to the consent agenda as well? It is a time extension, although the applicant wasn't here. I'm assuming that they're in agreement with the time extension since they requested it.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
They filed for one, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Aguilar.
I'd like to make a motion to move the following items to the consent agenda. And item number 1, DRH 19-00231. Item number 3, DRH 21-00234. Item number 4, DRH 21-00235. Item number 6, DRH 21-00279. And finally, item number 7, DRH 21-00283.
Great, so moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Simple. Any discussion on the consent agenda motion? Being none, Victoria, please call the roll.
Zabala,
Aye.
Aguilar,
Aye.
Marsh,
Aye.
Rudine,
Aye.
Semple,
I,
all in favor, motion carries.
Great, thank you, everybody. First item to be heard tonight is item number 2. It is DRH 21-00232. Location is 2903 West Idaho Street. It's the appeal of administrative approval to construct a new parking lot on a property located in the C2D zone. With this, I'll turn it over to staff. Your report, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. The item before you is an appeal of an administrative approval to construct a parking lot. The applicant was not in agreement with the conditions of approval that were issued on July 2nd, 2021. That included a condition to provide a 10-foot landscape setback from the property line on both Idaho and 29th Street. And an appeal to that approval was submitted on July 9th, 2021, within the 10-day appeal period. The applicant's proposal includes a simple parking lot next to an existing business at the corner of 29th and Idaho. This would extend their outdoor vehicular and equipment storage area for that associated business. You can see on the site plan that it was a proposal for a paved storage area and then some landscaping within the right-of-way along both Idaho and 29th Streets. With this approval, a condition was included that required a 10-foot landscape setback on both Idaho and 29th Streets to comply with the zoning ordinance, which does for front yard and side yard street, which both Idaho and 29th would be considered. There is a 10-foot requirement for paving, parking, drive aisle setbacks. The zoning ordinance further dictates that that area should be landscaped with street trees and a vegetative ground cover. The applicant's grounds for appeal are that the 10-foot landscape setback is provided from the back of the sidewalk within the right-of-way. Our findings are that setbacks within the city of Boise are measured from property line as defined in the zoning ordinance. Secondly, any exception to setbacks must be approved through a variance application, which is a specific type of application which goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And that neither Planning and Development Services staff or the Design Review Committee have jurisdiction to approve a variance without going through the proper process. The second grounds for appeal were that the Taste Rents property to the west has a 10-foot has a fence that is 10 feet off of sidewalk, and they'd like to continue that on this property line without that fence taking a jog. Again, without a variance application, that landscape setback must be maintained. The existing property line and fence to the west is not subject of the current application, and that the new parking and storage lot is required to comply with ordinances in place at the time of application. So in conclusion, based on the preceding analysis, we would recommend denial of the appeal. If the applicant wishes to pursue the reduced setbacks shown on the site plan, we would recommend that they submit a variance application for review. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thanks, Josh. Questions for staff at this time? Seeing none. Josh, just to be clear, the parking lot didn't have any actual dimension parking stalls or anything to it. It just was an open parking lot. Is that correct? To storage?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. And that would, that would also explain the absence of any interior landscape requirements. If this was a vehicular parking lot for customers or employees, we would have requirements for some interior landscaping at the end of parking rows, and also no more than 10 parking spaces in a row. With the simple equipment and vehicle storage lot, that is not required, and just those perimeter landscaping requirements have to be met.
Great, thanks. And then by providing the extra 10 feet of landscaping, then it isn't jeopardizing required numbers of parking or anything else from them proceeding. Would that be a true statement?
Mr. Chairman, that would be correct. I mean,
Okay.
It obviously reduces the size of the paved area, but there are not a required number of stalls. Yes,
Great.
correct.
Thanks. Any further questions? Any other questions for?
Mr. Chair,
Simple.
Josh, on this site plan, it looks like there's an existing approach coming off of Idaho, I guess, and then maybe asphalt line that runs diagonally through that fence line. Is that the case where it looks like it's further back from the property line where it goes into that existing? I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, from the northwest corner of where the end of the red line on the northwest corner, just below that, there appears to be a edge of pavement line. Just trying to determine where there's some existing pavement that's hitting this area too,
Yeah.
that appears to be 10 feet or more from that property line.
Committee member Simple, I do not know what that line is depicting on that site plan. It
Okay.
could, I may have the applicant address that. We
Okay.
can also bring up some site photos too, if that helps.
That will help. Thanks. Sorry. Jumped the gun a little bit.
Oh, you're good.
Any other questions for staff? No, great. At this time, is the applicant present? Would they like to present? Testify tonight? If you would, please state your name and address for the record when able.
Hello, I'm Ryan Lofthouse. I'm representing Tate's Rents. This location. Can you hear me?
Yes. You're
Okay.
fine.
Great. Yeah, there's two approaches. There's one on the north and one on the east side there, existing, which won't be used, to answer your question. Does that answer what you were asking? I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it's more has to do with the existing pavement that's on to the west of the proposed parking lot and where that hits the west side of this proposed parking lot. I guess if you had some pictures or something, I just trying to get a clear idea of what is existing on this site that you're proposing a parking lot, if it's just vacant or what's kind of going on at the
Okay.
transition.
So that parking lot was a building. It's been demoed and it's removed. And on the west side there is an existing asphalt parking lot, which they use. There's a couple entrances there that you won't see to the west of where the map ends. And they come in, drop off equipment, and then they store it in this area, which is currently gravel.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions for the applicant? I guess, is there any other reason you couldn't go through a variance process to request a reduction in the landscape setback on those two streets?
We could go through a variance, we could push through that, but as we're approaching the end of feasible construction times, they were concerned with the time frame for which that could take.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public wishing to testify on this item tonight? None in person, I see. Anybody virtually, Josh? No one virtually? Any last words from the applicants before we close the public portion of the testimony and bring it back to the committee for discussion and a motion? Hearing none, at this time we'll close the public portion of the meeting here and bring it back to the committee to discuss.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Aguilar.
Josh, so just to confirm from your previous slides, even if we were in agreement with the proposed deviation from the standard, we're not the appropriate authority to approve this, or correct?
Mr. Chairman, committee member Aguilar, absolutely, yes. The variance process would have to go through the procedure as outlined in code.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bo.
just a further clarification. If they didn't want to go through the variance process, then they just have to redesign to provide a 10-foot landscape buffer on both the north and east sides of the parking lot and landscape that, correct?
Mr. Chairman, committee member Simple, yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Anybody want to entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Bott.
It would appear that our authority and limitations are pretty clearly spelled out by staff in the report. And the applicant obviously has couple of options on how to proceed. One just indicated by Mr. Semple as far as putting in the 10-foot landscape strips on the north and the east side. The other applying for the variance. If that were to be approved, if the applicant's concerns about the viability of the landscape at this time of the year could probably be conditioned to where that item would be bonded or somehow conditioned so that it could be installed at a more favorable time in the weather and the season. So with that, I find the conditions of approval placed on the project comply with sections 11-03-04.12C, parentheses 7, parentheses D of the zoning ordinance, and would recommend denial of the appeal subject to the original conditions of approval.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Simple. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Victoria, please call the roll.
Bala,
Aye.
Aguilar,
Aye.
Marsh,
Aye.
Rudine,
Aye.
Semple,
Aye.
all in favor, motion carries.
That concludes our items to be heard tonight. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.